tonight. Jamaica recorded 403 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday, pushing the total number of confirmed cases across the island to 17,701, with one additional death. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced changes to the containment measures as the country deals with the spread of COVID-19.
2021, the island-wide curfew will commence at 8 p.m. Instead of 10 p.m. nightly and end at 5 a.m. the following morning until February 24th, 2021.
The Manchester Health Services (MHS) is urging residents in the parish to access free COVID-19 tests as the health team intensifies its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. And come March 1st, farmers and fisherfolk will have access to a group health and life insurance plan.
Private sector to step up and partner with us to provide insurance coverage to our food producers.
Good evening. Jamaica recorded 403 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday, pushing the total number of confirmed cases across the island to 17,701. The country's death toll also climbed to 359 after an 84-year-old male from Kingston and St. Andrew succumbed to the virus. Of the 403 new cases, there were 154 males and 249 females, with ages ranging from 63 days to 96 years old. The cases were recorded in Manchester, 81, St. James, 69, Kingston and St. Andrew, 66, St. Catherine, 54, St. Elizabeth, 26, Hanover, 21, Clarendon, 17, Trelawney, 17, Westmoreland, 15, St. Anne, 14, St. Mary, 12, St. Thomas, 10, and Portland, 1. The country also recorded 44 recoveries, bringing the total number of recoveries to 12,362. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced changes to the COVID-19 containment measures as the country deals with the spread of the virus. The new curfew will take effect tomorrow, February 10 at 8 p.m. until February 24, 2021, well, that is this year, at 5 a.m.
The island-wide curfew will commence at 8 p.m. Instead of 10 p.m. nightly and end at 5 a.m. the following morning until February 24th, 2021. The gathering limit, and this is nationally now, the gathering limit will be reduced from 15 persons to 10 persons, and this is nationally. The curfew has proven to be the most effective measure, but it is the most expensive measure because of the impact it has on the economy and on business. But the curfew certainly helps to filter non-productive activities, but it does have an impact on those activities, productive activities, that happen outside of curfew hours. So factories that operate on double shift, the quick service industries, fast food, restaurants, it does have a significant impact. The Jamaican economy is about 70% services, heavily reliant on services. So any measure that reduces their operation will have a greater weight on the reduction in our growth and our GDP. So we don't take it lightly, and we will watch it very carefully and make an analysis and we'll make a projection as to whether or not the numbers will go down. And then if the numbers seem to settle, then we will go back to either 9 or 10.
In making the announcement in Parliament earlier this evening, Prime Minister Holness is asking for understanding from the business community and the public, saying that these measures were necessary to slow the spread of the virus and prevent the health system to become overwhelmed.
Abide by the curfew hours. Well, as the Minister of Finance is saying, and I echo his thought, that it's not just our friends in commerce, it's the people who could potentially lose their jobs as a result of this. And you know, it has happened before. The quick service industry, the fast food restaurants and so forth, persons have lost employment there. But the nation should know that we have thought about it, we have balanced it. It is not the intention to keep it for longer than necessary, but having, as I said, regard to the fact that we could overwhelm our public health system, we have to take this measure. And if the government is doing this, then this social contract that we have with our citizens, it can only work if the citizens cooperate, if they play their part in ensuring that this works. The enforcement of the measure will be critical. It is not that the police have been lax or they have not been enforcing, but they have been taking a very understanding approach to the measure. And you would also bear in mind, Madam Speaker, that their resources have been diverted in the last month to focus heavily on crime control. It is not that we're going to shift from crime control, but in the enforcement of the quarantine orders, that will be stepped up.
Meanwhile, he pointed out that a greater sense of urgency is needed from the government, but even more from the public in taking responsibility with their actions that could reduce the spread of the virus.
We are at a phase now where we're seeing the effects of the pandemic on the ability of the government to provide the services and to give the assurances that we have given. So this conundrum in which we find ourselves, which is to save lives and save livelihoods, it is a very real situation. So we had to think very carefully about how it is that we respond to the pandemic. We're also seeing, aside from the increasing numbers, the absolute numbers of cases being confirmed, we're also seeing an increase in hospitalizations across the island. So what we are seeing here, having interrogated this data, is that there is need for a greater sense of urgency, both on the part of the government in our response, but more so on the part of the citizen. You have to take greater personal responsibility.
The Prime Minister further expressed that if this rapid spike keeps happening, the capacity allocated in the health system for COVID-19 patients will be outpaced by the numbers.
The strategy of the government has always been to look at the large picture of the number of infections confirmed using the PCR test, and then take from that the number of persons who are critically ill, match that number against our capacity to serve them. That would be your ICU facilities, to take the number of persons who need general hospitalization, so they may not be critically ill, but they may need to spend time in the hospital for treatment, and match that against our general capacity, the beds that we have reserved. So we have reserved 400 beds. Now, I want you to just walk with me down this road now. If our numbers, that is our confirmed numbers, increase rapidly, exponentially, then very soon we would outpace the number of beds that we have. Worse than that, if it increases in our high-density population areas, then even if you have beds in other areas, you would immediately reach upon this critical point, because already you're seeing In Kingston, KPH is almost at max. In Spanish Town, almost at max. In Maypen, almost at max. UA, max. So, Madam Speaker, the situation is serious.
Meanwhile, leader of the opposition, Mark Golding, in his response, says that Jamaica is in a perilous situation with this spike in COVID-19 cases, while pointing out that the quarantining of visitors are not being monitored effectively.
We're in a perilous situation, very perilous situation, where the cases are coming in faster and faster, and the hospital and the health system is at close to, and in some instances, actually at its limit. And the truth is that the monitoring of the quarantine of visiting persons has not been very effective. The app is there, but many people have not been complying. And of course, they come and then they leave and go back to where they are resident overseas. And unfortunately, based on the data we have, some of them will have left COVID with us. So we are kind of reaping the effects of having a system here where people can come to Jamaica without being tested prior to arrival and having to have a clean negative test taken within a few days before travel. So we expose ourselves by having that somewhat liberal approach to a situation where the quarantining of people becomes even more critical. And if the quarantining is not effectively monitored, then the population as a whole is exposed. And we seem to be reaping the whirlwind now of that.
Mr. Golding also pointed out that indeed persons have become complacent and are not complying with the protocols put in place by the government, while urging the government to revisit the initial robust public education drive in its efforts to increase sensitizing the public on the importance of following the protocols.
I just wanted to mention a few things. First of all, I agree with you. We are seeing some amount of fatigue and complacency. We've been living with this pandemic now for nearly a year. People are tired of having to comply. You know, the limits on socialization, Jamaicans like to party, and so on. A lot of people are fed up, despondent, and so on. And people just have lived, some of them have, many of us have lived for nearly 12 months. We haven't got ill. So we tend to be a bit complacent about it. But this is not the time for that. This is a time for extra vigilance, for taking this thing very, very seriously, and for really complying with the social distancing protocols that exist.
In other news, the Manchester Health Services MHS is urging residents in the parish to access free COVID-19 tests as the health team intensifies its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Parish manager for the MHS, Sandia Chambers Ferguson, explained that due to the increase in cases in the parish, the health team has been going to several high-risk communities to test residents and conduct sensitization sessions. She noted that the team also conducts door-to-door visits to engage householders and business owners and distribute information about the disease. Mrs. Chambers Ferguson further said that residents in the South Manchester communities are being encouraged to come out this week and access the free testing, as the Manchester Health Services team will be in Alligator Pond, Plowden and Cross Keys on Wednesday, February 10, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Also on Thursday, February 11, the team will be in the community of Resource in South Manchester from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. They will also be distributing masks and sanitizers. The parish manager added that during the third week of February, the The health team will be in the communities of Prospect, Old England and Albion in Manchester. She said residents will be notified as the team goes into the community to conduct the sensitization and testing sessions. And Mrs. Chambers Ferguson is appealing to residents to educate themselves about COVID-19, adding that, quote, "It is important to get tested as soon as you begin to experience any of the symptoms associated with COVID-19, such as headache, fever, sore throat, cough, loss of taste, and nausea," end quote. She further added that testing is offered daily at the Mandeville Comprehensive Clinic on Racecourse Road in Manchester and at the Christiana Health Center in Christiana every Tuesday and on Thursday and on first and third Thursdays from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Sean Vasco, a hotel worker of Lawrence Tavern, St. Andrew, has been missing since Thursday, February 4. He is of dark brown complexion, stout build, and about 6 feet tall. Reports from the Halfway Tree Police are that Vasco was last seen about 9 p.m. boarding a bus at the transport center in Halfway Tree. He has not been heard from since. When last seen, he was dressed in a black shirt, black jeans, and a pair of black and white sneakers. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Sean Vasco is being asked to contact the Halfway Tree Police at 876-926-8185, Police 119 emergency number, or the nearest police station. The police are seeking the public's assistance to locate Rodcliffe Campbell, aged 24 years old, from Augustown, Glengough in St. Catherine, who has been missing since December 14 of last year. He is said to be of brown complexion, slim build, and about 5 feet 9 inches tall. Reports from the Constant Spring Police are that Campbell was last seen at 3 Washington Court, Kingston 8. He was later seen in the Halfway Tree area in the vicinity of York Pharmacy and the Portmore bus stop. When last seen, he was dressed in a black cap, blue shirt, blue joggers, and a pair of black shoes. All efforts to contact him have proven futile. The police are asking anyone with any information to call Crime Stop at 311 or the nearest police station. 39-year-old Nadine Gettys yesterday pleaded guilty in the Hillary session of the Trelawney Circuit Court to the murder of her sister, 36-year-old Tamara Gettys, who was shot in her bedroom in the reserve community in the parish last year. The 36-year-old Gettys was reportedly gunned down in the presence of her 10-year-old daughter on Friday, June 19, 2020. Yesterday, Nadine's 2 daughters, 21-year-old Shanice Ruddock and a 15-year-old, also pleaded guilty to the charge of misprision of a felony in the case when they appeared before Justice Martin Gale. They were both offered bail in the sum of $100,000 with surety by Justice Gale. Rexon Knott, 24 years old, another defendant who was jointly charged with murder and conspiracy to murder in the matter, pleaded not guilty and was set free as the court had insufficient evidence to proceed against him. However, the court heard that the co-accused, Brian Shelley, Owen Irvin, and Tayshawn Young, whose files were incomplete, were remanded in custody until February 22. Both Gettys and her 2 daughters are expected to return to court on Friday, February 26 for sentencing. The Spanish Town Police are reporting that 3 persons are in custody in relation to an incident on Marchpen Road in St. Catherine on Saturday, in which 2-year-old Tayshawn McDonald died after being hit down by a motor car. The 3 men turned themselves into the police on Sunday. Reports are that the toddler of the same community was reportedly in his community about 11:30 a.m. when he was hit by a Suzuki Swift motor car. He died while being treated at a hospital. As the investigations continue, the police are encouraging persons who have information that can assist with the probe to contact the Spanish Town Police at 876-984-2305, police 119 emergency number or the nearest police station. And those are some of the stories making news. We will return with more stories such as farmers and fisherfolk having access to a group health and life insurance plan come the 1st of March, as well as news that small and medium-sized businesses looking to take their operations to the next level and grow revenues are being invited to submit applications for participation in the Scotiabank Vision Achiever 2021 series. But first, we will now take a break and then join Christopher Scott with sports.